My name is Grace Lee.
This is Grace Lee.
Hi, my name is Grace Lee.
Hi, my name is Grace Lee.
My name is Grace Lee. I'm the director of the Grace Lee Project. The film is an exploration into Asian American female identity by looking at stereotypes and misconceptions around the name, identity, and characters named Grace Lee. I never wanted to make a film just about my name. That wasn't interesting to me. I wanted to make a film that explored how Grace Lee became this stand-in for the model minority or the Asian American woman. That was what drove me to understand the underlying pillars of this name. I made the Grace Lee Project as a kind of social experiment. Growing up in the Midwest, I was one of the very few Asians around, and I thought that Grace was a really unique name, and that because I was one of the few Asians that I was original. But when I started living in different parts of the United States, I would learn that almost everybody I met had known a Grace Lee at some point in their life. This Grace Lee was always somebody who was the stereotypical overachiever. You know, she went to Harvard at age 15, or was a violin prodigy, or really Christian, just incredibly impressive, like all of us Asian Americans are supposed to be.
The Grace Lee I know was an valedictorian in my high school, also prom queen. I think she was either studying law or medicine.
She's very intelligent.
She was really smart.
Very intelligent. She played the clarinet.
Like, she was just like the nicest girl.
Whenever I would hear about these Grace Lees, I would always feel sort of like a loser in comparison. And I knew that it wasn't true, that all Grace Lees were alike, or maybe it was true, so I made the film to explore this question.
Are there any Grace Lees out there who actually broke the mold?
I wanted to find a wide variety of Grace Lees that would either prove or disprove my thesis. When I made the project, which was in the early 2000s, social media didn't really exist, and I had to think about how would I find these Grace Lees, or how would I reach out to them. So the first thing I did was create a website with the URL gracelee.net, and I wrote a paragraph about the project and introduced myself, because I figured if I was going to reach out to random strangers named Grace Lee, I should at least offer something about myself and what I was doing. And then I just sent an email to everybody I knew saying, the Grace Lee Project is launching. Do you know anyone named Grace Lee? Are you related to a Grace Lee? Are you Grace Lee? And I encouraged everybody to come to my website. And it pretty much snowballed, and I started getting responses immediately, mostly because I think people thought it was funny, and also because they knew Grace Lees. When the Grace Lees came to my website, they had to fill out a survey, and they answered a bunch of questions about who they were and, you know, how the name shaped them, what they were interested in, how did they ever feel pigeonholed by their name, like I had felt when I heard about these other Grace Lees. And I basically just went off of responses. You know, if people's story intrigued me, I would follow up.
These are voodoo dolls, and I bought this one at Chinatown, and I made this one. And I mostly made it because I think they're kind of cute. And also because it's a good way to take out your anger without actually hurting anyone.
I realized that there were certain themes that were emerging about Grace Lees, things that I didn't even know until I started the project. For example, that so many women named Grace Lee had a Christian background, or they were daughters of pastors, or even a wife of a pastor.
I was born into a Christian home. My parents were Christian. And when they named me, I think that's why they named me Grace. When I was little, they would call my name Grace, and then they would say, oh, say Grace.
Nobody wants to be pigeonholed, whether it's by their name or the way they look, or some aspect that they can't even control. The story of a teenager growing up in Cupertino, California is very different from a Hawaii news anchor who is, you know, born and raised in Alabama, from Grace Lee Boggs, the Chinese American activist.
Grace Lee Boggs is a writer and activist who has devoted herself to social change, primarily in the Black community.
Are these boxes from last year?
Her life is a whirlwind of meetings, speaking engagements, and opportunities to mentor young people, which basically includes everybody under 80.
She's been there in my corner all my life.
The Grace Lee Project as a film reflects an America that is diverse. And there's diversity even within Grace Lees. People care about these stories because it reflects what this country actually looks like.